A total of 26 memorandums of understanding or MOUs involving an investment value of over 5 billion ringgit have been signed since the Malaysian Agriculture, Horticulture and Agro-Tourism Exhibition or MAHA 2022 started last Thursday. Agriculture and Food Industry Minister Datuk Seri Dr. Ronald Kendi said his office is targeting investment value through the MOUs to exceed 6 billion ringgit during MAHA 2022, which will end this Sunday. The MOUs were signed with business entities both domestically and abroad, the largest of which is an investment in the cattle breeding industry between entrepreneurs from the West Asia and local industry players related to cattle breeding in Chuping Perlis, which is expected to generate a return of over 4 billion ringgit.
Dari segi pencapaian nilai jualan dan sebagainya, setakat semalam nilai jualan dan juga padanan sama ada secara jualan langsung, jualan melalui maya dan juga padanan telah mencecah lebih daripada 163 juta ringgit. Kita sasarkan sehingga akhir nanti nilai jualan akan melebihi 250 juta ringgit.
The minister added that a total of 800,000 visitors have visited MAHA 2022, including virtually. He said the ministry targeted 1.1 million visitors and this target may be reached by tomorrow. Now, a 50% discount on traffic summonses will be offered to those visiting MAHA 2022 on Saturday and Sunday. Now, Home Minister Datuk Seri Hamzah Zainuddin said MAHA organizer will prepare a special area for those wishing to pay their summonses.
Saya nak memaklumkan pada hari Sabtu, Kementerian Dalam Negeri akan memberi peluang kepada semua pengunjung-pengunjung yang mempunyai saman trafik untuk membayar kalau dia datang ke MAHA ini. Dalam satu dewan di sini nanti kita akan tetapkan tempatnya supaya mereka boleh datang membayar saman dan kita bagi diskaun 50%.
The Ministry of Transport, or MOT, is targeting more than 3,000 visitors to attend the Rail Technology Expo 2022 or RTX 2022 exhibition, which will last for 4 days starting yesterday. The Minister Datuk Seri Dr. Wee Ka Siong said the exhibition could become a platform to raise awareness in the development of the latest rail technology and enhance the country's rail industry. Datuk Seri Dr. Wee said RTX 2022, organised for the first time, was aimed to raise awareness about the latest rail development and technology, promote capabilities and capacity of the local rail industry, expand business networks between stakeholders, as well as introduce expertise and abilities of the local rail industry.
Saya difahamkan banyak syarikat yang terlibat dalam industri rail ini. Mereka dah boleh mengeksport teknologi mereka ke luar negara. Dan ada yang mempunyai pengalaman berpuluh tahun. Dan kalau kita lihat dari segi rail, KTMB ini bermula 137 tahun yang lalu. Bermaksud kita mempunyai satu latar belakang, satu kelebihan dari segi pembangunan rail di Malaysia.
Speaking to reporters after launching the RTX 2022, the minister said the launch showed MOT's seriousness in driving efforts to increase the capacity and capability of local rail-related companies, which would greatly benefit the rail industry in the country. Now, RTX 2022 is a joint venture of MOT with the National Rail Centre of Excellence, Malaysia Rail Industry Corporation and Technology Depository Agency. Now, the administration of COVID-19 booster jab will not be made compulsory, but the Health Ministry or MOH will continue endorsing the people to take it, especially for those belonging to the high-risk group. Minister Kari Jamaluddin said as of now, majority of the people in the country are aware about the dangers of the virus and to benefits of being vaccinated.
kita akan terus mengesyorkan dan menggalakkan supaya mereka yang usia 50 tahun ke atas, terutama mereka yang ada masalah kesihatan, supaya mereka dapat dos pengalak mereka. So buat masa ni masih lagi dalam peringkat penggalakan. Dan memang tak akan ada paksaan lah. Sebab saya rasa ramai pun dah tahu tentang COVID, tentang baiknya untuk mereka menerima vaksin.
He added that the MOH has not fixed any target for the second COVID-19 vaccine booster dose, but will continue to educate and encourage people to take their second booster jabs for the sake of their own health. In other development, Khairi said the government would consult health experts before making a stance regarding the country's annual COVID-19 vaccination strategy. Meanwhile, Khairi said that the MOH will not compromise with those not certified offering dental services. He said the ministry would increase enforcement to ensure that there are no places that offer dental services without certified dentists.
Untuk doktor pergigian yang tiada kelayakan, tanpa pendaftaran dan sebagainya, kita akan terus ambil tindakan. Dia memang tidak ada kompromi dalam hal ini. Apa saja perkhidmatan kesihatan pergigian mesti diberi oleh doktor yang telah pun berdaftar, yang layak.
Now, Indonesian workers have started to progressively enter Malaysia after the neighbouring country's decision to lift restrictions of its workforce into this country effective from the 1st of August. Human Resources Minister Datuk Seri M. Saravanan said the first batch agreed. However, both countries have agreed to integrate the existing system for the intake of domestic workers between the Malaysian Immigration Department and the Indonesian Embassy here. Now, on Malaysia's workforce, Datuk Seri Saravanan said the issue is not unemployment, but mismatched job placements. Now, Häagen-Dazs vanilla ice cream products have been recalled from sale since last month after being detected to contain a carcinogenic substance, ethylene oxide or ETO, above the permitted level. Now, Health Director General Tan Sri Dr. Noor Hisham Abdullah said since the issue was reported and notification received by the Ministry of Health or MOH last month, the importing company had voluntarily recalled the products from the market. In a statement, he said the MOH took note that the Häagen-Dazs ice cream products have been recalled from the European market as they contain ethylene oxide based on the notification by the European Union Rapid Alert Systems for Food and Feed. Tan Sri Dr. Noor Hisham said the notification stated that there had been a recall of ice cream products from France that contain vanilla extract from Madagascar, which was found to contain more than the permitted level of ETO, and that the products were being sold in several countries, including Malaysia. He said continuous monitoring has also been carried out to ensure that the products are not marketed in the country. The Health DG said the MOH was always aware and concerned about things that can threaten the health of consumers, and those who have doubts about the sale of the products can contact the nearest district health office. Police bust a drug trafficking syndicate and seized 1.1 million ringgit worth of drugs. Now, police busted a drug trafficking syndicate and seized various types of drugs worth 1.1 million ringgit in 3 separate raids around the state last Tuesday. Now, Johor Police Chief Datuk Kamaruzaman Mahmad said the raids carried out at about 11:15 a.m. led to the arrest of a foreign national, a local man and a woman aged between 32 and 49 and believed to be members of a syndicate. As a result of the raid around Iskandar Puteri and Perkembangan Pontian, police seized various types of drugs including shabu, ketamine and aramine 5 pills that can feed 77,280 drug addicts. He said all the suspects were remanded for 7 days starting Thursday.
Kedua orang daripada mereka ni didapati positif methamphetamine dan dua orang daripada mereka ni adalah mempunyai rekod lampau berkaitan dengan dadah dan juga jenayah. Modus operandi dia adalah dengan menyewa kondo atau apartmen mewah yang ada guard gated.
He added that police also seized the syndicate's assets comprising cash, jewellery and 6 branded watches estimated to be worth 463,598 ringgit. The case is being investigated under Section 39B of the Dangerous Drugs Act 1952, Section 6, subsection 1C of the Immigration Act 1959-63 and Section 25, subsection 1N. Now, the public is again urged to activate the two-factor authentication or 2FA for social media accounts and messaging applications to avoid falling victim to an account takeover by fraudsters. The Malaysian Communications and Multimedia Commission, or MCMC, in a statement also advised the public to not share any verification code and not to click on any suspicious uniform resource locator or URL link. According to MCMC, the takeover of messaging application accounts occurs through camouflage tactics and persuading the victim to submit a 4-digit, 5-digit or 6-digit verification code or security code sent by a messaging application provider either through the short messaging service, SMS, email or other settings. Now, among the tricks and modus operandi often used include fraudsters impersonating an authority using fake messaging accounts and using intimidation or extortion to obtain verification codes. Masquerading as a friend or a family member by using a messaging account that has been taken over, they plead to the victim to submit a verification code claiming it was theirs and that the messaging provider had mistakenly sent the code to the victim. The MCMC added that the perpetrator may also disguise as an authority and inform that the victim has been chosen to be part of a secret group created by the government. Now, the victim is then directed to share the verification code sent via messaging or SMS to gain access to the secret group. Now, victims can make a complaint directly to the platform operator or visit the web portal as shown on your screen. Now, the Association of Banks in Malaysia, or ABM, and the Association of Islamic Banking and Financial Institutions Malaysia, AIBIM, reaffirmed that they take the security of cardholders' data seriously. Now, they said this in a joint statement in response to a recent iPay 88 announcement that card data may have been potentially compromised in a cyber security incident. Now, both associations said banks have taken additional countermeasures to protect cardholders from potential risks arising from this incident. Now, these measures include, but are not limited to, a heightening of real-time fraud monitoring to detect fraudulent and out-of-norm card usage behavior. Now, the banks have implemented robust multi-layer security measures such as dual-factor authentication to prevent unauthorized credit card and debit card transactions. According to the statement, banks would contact their cardholders directly through the bank's official channels should they detect unusual transactions, which may require added verification. Now, cardholders may also reach out to their respective issuers via call centres or branches for assistance related to this matter. ABM and AIBIM member banks also reassured their cardholders that they may continue to use their bank cards as normal, but are reminded to closely monitor their bank statements and transaction alerts from their banks. On the foreign front, Sudan Security Force fired tear gas in the latest round of protest. An armed man who fled after attempting to breach an FBI office in the U.S. state of Ohio was killed in a standoff with the police. Now, the incident drew nationwide attention as it occurred only a few days after the Federal Bureau of Investigation, or FBI, searched former President Donald Trump's Florida home, infuriating right-wing circles, although there was no immediate indication the events were linked. The FBI said this morning that a person armed with a weapon had tried to breach the entry to the Bureau's office in the Ohio city of Cincinnati. Upon the activation of an alarm and a response by armed FBI special agents, the subject fled. According to local media, the man fired a nail gun and brandished an AR-15 style rifle before fleeing by car. A police spokesman said the vehicle was pursued by law enforcement and that it stopped in a rural area. Once the vehicle came to a stop, gunfire was exchanged between officers on the scene and the suspect. Now, officers then attempted to negotiate with the suspect, but he did not surrender. After the suspect raised a weapon towards the police, officers shot him and he succumbed to his injuries at the scene. FBI Director Christopher Wray on Wednesday denounced threats made against the FBI following the raid on Trump's Palatial Mar-a-Lago residence in Florida, calling them deplorable and dangerous. The U.S. media outlets say the raid was related to the potential mishandling of classified documents sent to Mar-a-Lago after Trump left the White House in January 2021. A Sudanese security armoured vehicle on Thursday fired tear gas at demonstrators in Khartoum while it was pelted with rocks and bricks as an anti-military campaign carried into its 10th month. The protesters also assembled blockades from what appeared to be bricks dug out of pavements. Thousands of Sudanese protesters rallied against last year's military coup and to demand civilian rule and better living conditions. Now, Sudan has been reeling from political unrest, a spiraling economic crisis, and a broad security breakdown since Army Chief Abdel Fattah al-Burhan led a coup last 25th of October. Now, Sudan's latest putsch upended a transition to civilian rule launched after the 2019 ouster of strongman Omar al-Bashir, who ruled for 3 decades. Thursday's demonstration saw protesters gathered on a main street in Khartoum, where they also called for safety and security and free healthcare and education. Near weekly protests and a violent crackdown that has so far killed at least 116 people, according to pro-democracy medics, have rocked Sudan since the coup. Now, Cubans have been left to endure 6 to 18-hour blackouts and search for ever scarcer gasoline in the wake of a spectacular blaze that destroyed 40% of Cuba's main fuel depot and shuttered its only super tanker port. Now, the fire began on Friday last week when lightning struck a storage tank, spreading to 3 others before being brought under control on Tuesday. As of yesterday, the flames were out, but oil residues remain dangerously hot. The import-dependent Caribbean island nation was already reeling from the impact of tough U.S. sanctions, the pandemic's impact on tourism, and rising international prices for fuel, food, and shipping. Now, Cuba has long relied on the 2.4 million barrel Matanzas terminal, about 130 kilometers from Havana, for most of their crude and heavy fuel imports and storage. Now, Cubans were already suffering through chronic power outages, fuel, food and medicine shortages, and lining up for hours to purchase basic goods. Now, the accident has aggravated the energy crisis due to an obsolete power grid and poor maintenance. The country's imports 60% of the fuel it consumes. Coming up in sport, FIFA World Cup pushed 1 day ahead that initial plan. Now, the World Cup in Qatar will kick off a day earlier than scheduled. The football governing body, FIFA, said this is after its ruling bureau agreed unanimously to hold the opening ceremony and the host nation's first match 20th of November. The original plan was for the opening ceremony to be held before Qatar's game on the 21st of November against Ecuador, which would have created the unusual situation of 2 matches, Senegal versus Netherlands and England versus Iran, being held before the ceremony. Now, normally, the ceremony is conducted before the kickoff of the first game of the tournament. The Group A match between Senegal and Netherlands, originally scheduled to be the tournament's opener, has been pushed back by 6 hours from 1300 local time on the 21st of November to the 1900 slot vacated by Qatar versus Ecuador. Now, the plan has been signed off by a committee comprising the heads of FIFA's 6 regional confederations and President Gianni Infantino. Now, FIFA said ticket holders will be duly notified by email that the relevant matches have been rescheduled and their tickets will remain valid irrespective of the new date or time. Morocco has fired its football coach Vahid Halilhodzic just 3 months before the country competes in the World Cup finals in Qatar. Now, the announcement by the Moroccan Football Federation yesterday ends months of speculation over the fate of the Franco-Bosnian coach, who has now suffered the extraordinary feat of being fired 3 times by national teams after they qualified for World Cup finals. The Federation said in a statement, due to differences and divergent visions between the Royal Moroccan Football Federation and Halilhodzic on the best way to prepare the national football team for the World Cup, the two parties decided to separate. Halilhodzic's possible departure had been the cause of much speculation since Morocco's tepid showing at the Africa Cup of Nations finals in January. Halilhodzic's brusque manner was cited as the reason for Japan firing him just 2 months before the 2018 finals, with the Japanese Football Association citing communication problems, and he had lost the trust of his players. He was also dismissed by the Ivory Coast ahead of the 2010 finals in South Africa and replaced by Sven-Göran Eriksson after the Ivorians fared poorly at the Cup of Nations finals 6 months before the World Cup. Morocco is expected to name its former international Walid Regragui as its new coach. Let's take a look at tennis. Australian Nick Kyrgios produced another extraordinary performance to demolish compatriot Alex de Minaur 6-2, 6-3 at the Canadian Masters. Now, the fiery Wimbledon finalist has been playing the best tennis of his career and is showing no signs of slowing down in Montreal. The pair traded breaks to open the second set, but the 27-year-old Kyrgios would not be denied, breaking de Minaur on the third try in the third game and again in the seventh. The Kyrgios briefly appeared agitated when he gave a break in the penultimate game, but found his composure to get job done in a little over an hour, breaking back to love in the final game. Now, the win will move Kyrgios high enough in the rankings to be seeded at the US Open later this month. Now, Kyrgios has won 15 of his last 16 matches and a day earlier produced a serve and volley masterclass to stun Russian Daniil Medvedev 6-7, 6-4, 6-2. In another match, Felix Auger-Aliassime harnessed his mighty serve to down Briton Cameron Norrie 6-3, 6-4 to delight his home crowd. Competing in his local town of Montreal, the 22-year-old Auger-Aliassime sent over 15 aces and won all but 3 of his first serve points, breaking in the penultimate game of both sets on centre court. In a dominant display, Auger-Aliassime targeted Norrie's forehand with his watertight ground strokes, while he demonstrated great footwork, dancing around his backhand to paint the lines with his forehand. The 6th seed, who lost to Norrie in the Los Cabos semi-finals last week, is making his 4th appearance at the National Bank Open, presented by Rogers, and will next play Norway's Casper Ruud as he looks to win his first ATP Masters 1,000 crown. The US Open semi-finalists will next face Norwegian Casper Ruud in the quarterfinals after the world number 7 saw off Spaniard Roberto Bautista Agut 6-7, 7-6, 6-4. In WTA Toronto Masters, Brazilian outsider Beatriz Haddad-Maia toppled world number 1 Iga Świątek 6-4, 3-6, 7-5 to reach the quarterfinals. Now, the South American, ranked 24th in the world, beat her third top 10 opponent this season, but notched her first career win over a world number 1 as she clawed out the victory in 3 hours. Maya put Swiatek on the defensive, forcing her to save 15 of 19 break points while committing 9 double faults. She limited her own unforced errors to a dozen, backed up by 23 winners, while Swiatek ended with 33 winners and 28 unforced errors. Maya, who won titles at Nottingham and Birmingham in June, became the first Brazilian to reach the quarters at a WTA 1000 tournament. Now, she was also the first tennis player from Brazil to face a number 1 since Tilian Pereira lost to Serena Williams at Roland Garros in 2016. Swiatek, whose 6 titles this season include the French Open, missed her chance at a 50th match win this season. Her run of 23 straight wins at the Masters 1000 level was snapped. Serena Williams said an emotional first goodbye to Toronto after announcing her forthcoming retirement from tennis. Now, the first stop of her farewell tour came to a quick end after she fell 6-2, 6-4 to Belinda Bencic in second-round action at the Canadian Open on Wednesday, a day after announcing her upcoming retirement. Williams arrived on the court to a standing ovation and had the full support of the capacity crowd throughout the 77-minute match, but was unable to conjure up the old magic that helped her lift 3 titles in Canada. Olympic champion Bencic saved the lone break point she faced in the opening set and broke Williams twice to jump ahead 5-2, but the Swiss 12th seed then needed 5 set points to clinch the opening frame. In the second set, Bencic got the one break she needed to go ahead 4-3 when Williams struck a double fault, and the Swiss never looked back as she sealed the match on her serve when Williams sent a return long.
Yeah, it was a lot of emotions. Obviously, I love playing here. I've always loved playing here. And yeah, it was... I wish I could have played better, but Belinda played so well today. But I just, yeah, it's been a pretty interesting 24 hours. It's just been so memorable, you know. Like I said in my article, I'm terrible at goodbyes, but goodbye, Toronto!
After the match, Williams was presented with team jerseys of Toronto's NBA and NHL teams for her and her daughter, who was in attendance. And that's it from us in our top story. 26 MOUs worth over 5 billion ringgit signed in Maha exhibition, nearing the target of 6 billion ringgit of investment. I'm Jessica Lee. Thank you for watching.